All right, second grade. So we're going to keep going in learning a little bit more about the story structure. So remember last week we kind of were introduced to it and what a story structure is. And remember, story structure is the things that make up a story. And that includes three really important things, right? If we don't have these three things in any kind of story, we don't really have a story. So we learned about characters and settings last week, and then we're gonna jump into plot. So those are the three big things: characters, the setting, and the plot in a story. So we learned about characters last week, and those are the people or animals that we see in a story, okay? And then the setting is where something is happening and when. So where, as in like the kitchen on a cold summer day, the time or when it was a cold summer day, which is really weird, but maybe you never know. So cold summer day is when, and where is in the kitchen, right? And then character examples, we've read about Amelia Bedelia. You can read about Curious George, who's an animal. So those kind of things, right? The next part of all of this is the plot. So before we start, I kind of just want to I want you to imagine being on a roller coaster if you've been on one before, right? So when you leave from sitting in the roller coaster, right, you start going up and up and up and up, and you're getting super excited. You're like, I can't wait to drop. I know there's a drop at the end, and this is getting exciting because I cannot see when it's coming, but I know it's coming. And then you drop, and then you go down, and all the excitement goes with you, and it's all before you know it, the ride's all done, right? So that's kind of how a story is, and that's what our plot is. So plot, that's how you spell it. There's three things that go into the plot. We have our beginning, middle, and our end. And I'm sure you're familiar with this because you've done a lot of it during in first grade, and we've been doing a lot of beginning, middle, end kind of things in those worksheets that I've had you do every day. But for the most part, a plot has three parts: the beginning, middle, and end. Okay, so let's go ahead and learn a little bit more about the beginning. So in the beginning, okay, voila, magic. We learn about who the characters are in the story, the main ones, right? So in a story, there could be like 10 different characters that you've been seeing. And like Curious George, there's the nurse, there's the doctor, there's the painter, there's George, there's the man in the yellow hat, so on and so forth. But in the beginning, you usually get the important characters at the start, like who they are, what they're like, what we're gonna follow them on a journey, basically, right? And then we're also introduced to our setting, and our setting is where it's happening. And like we've learned, setting, it moves a lot, it changes a lot, but we have a initial or a first setting, and that's what happens in the beginning. So it's just telling us, here's who the characters are, here's what they're like, what they do, things they're kind of doing in their normal life. And then just like a roller coaster, it starts building and building and building, and then it starts getting more interesting in the middle. In the middle is where it gets really exciting, or like there's some sort of thing that's different about their lives, and that could be a problem. Now, a problem could be something bad, or it could be something good, right? Like someone was accepted to go to two different high schools in San Jose, right? That's the problem because they have to choose where they have to go, right? Other things could be like tripping on a rock. That causes a problem, right? So we learn about the characters, right? We meet them, and we're learning about their lives, where they're from, what they're doing, and then there's a problem. Something changes up their normal lives, and it's making, or their normal routine, or whatever they're doing, and it just causes this weird feeling in the people, right? And as we continue down this roller coaster, right, of a plot, we're starting to get to the end. And in the end, we usually get a solution, or a answer or fix to the problem, right? So it's not always happy. I mean, stories don't always have happy endings unless they're fairy tales, right? As we've learned through our studies, that fairy tales usually have a happy ending. But in this case, it's not always the case. So there's a solution to the problem that happened in the middle, okay? So follow with me again. In the beginning, we usually are introduced to the main characters, right? And where they're from, and we kind of just get to know them and from their normal lives. And then as we keep going up into the middle, something happens, something like a problem happens, and it changes kind of how the story goes. And they're trying to figure out how to fix this problem, right? And they keep doing it. And then as we come down here in this roller coaster, we're coming down to a solution on fixing the problem that this character is facing, right? So something fixes itself, whether it's good or bad, to the problem. So let me give you an example that Miss Horia was thinking off the top of her head. So there once was this wonderful teacher at St. Patrick's School. She taught second grade, and her name was Miss Hilario. So do you see there, I'm setting it up, I'm talking about myself, I'm a teacher, I'm wonderful, I work at St. Patrick's. And I decided that I wanted to go on a walk, right? So I have my setting, I'm walking outside, and I'm just enjoying the beauty of Colorado and everything it has to offer, and I'm not really paying attention to what I'm doing. And then all of a sudden, I fell down. I had tripped on a rock during my walk, and it's bleeding and it's scraped myself, and I'm hurting, and I just don't know what to do. So I start thinking, what should I do? I should get up, but I can't walk. It hurts too much. So I decide to grab my phone and call my mom, and she picked me up and she helped me. So there was my solution. My problem was that I wasn't paying attention and I tripped over a rock during my walk and I didn't know what to do. But then I thought, okay, I need to call my mom, which is the solution, and she took me home and she helped me. So that's kind of how a plot works. I want to give you one more example of plot, but in a real story that you could possibly read. And bam, story. So I'm going to read it, and you're going to go ahead and just listen to Miss Hilario, and we'll go from there. So, our family vacation. My family piled into our minivan. My brother, sister, and I chattered excitedly as my parents threw the last of the suitcases into the van. Summer vacation had just started, and my family was taking a trip to Wally's Wonder World amusement park. I had been counting down the days until our trip for a month. I couldn't believe that the day was finally here. I couldn't wait to ride the roaring rocket coaster. It was a new roller coaster that looked petrifying. And I'm sure you're wondering what petrifying means. Petrifying means super scary. It's very scary. It looks scary. Okay, so as I read this, I kind of think to myself, who are the characters? What's the setting in the beginning? What are we learning? So, right in the beginning of a plot, we are introduced to the characters and the setting and what's kind of going on. So when I think about what's happening right now, we know that there's this boy with his family, right? The characters, and they're home, but they're on their way, or they're going to be on their way to Wally's Wonder World amusement park, right? And this has been something they're super duper excited. That's what I'm picking up from reading this, right? That they're going somewhere, they're getting ready, they've been really excited about it. So we're kind of building up this roller coaster in the story. So let's keep reading. Our van was packed. We had a 4-hour drive ahead of us. We were going to stay at a hotel with a pool and a water slide for the week. Even my parents were looking forward to the getaway. The car zoomed down the road toward the hotel. We had been on the road for about 2 hours. Suddenly, we heard a huge clink. The car started to make a funny noise. So if I remember, the middle part of a story has a problem. So I think we're getting to the problem of this story. But let's keep reading. "Oh no," my mom shrieked as my dad veered to the side of the road. Veered means like kind of turn into the side of the road, right? My dad got out and looked under the hood of the car. After a few minutes, he came back to us with a frown on his face. Uh-oh. So this sounds like this is becoming the problem, right? Usually a car doesn't make a clink noise or makes a funny noise. It just sounds pretty normal. And mom is yelling, "Oh no." And usually when you yell, "Oh no," something wrong has happened, and there's a frown on their dad's face. So I think we're almost to the problem. So we're in the middle of our story, remember? So we have the beginning. So we learn about this family that's getting ready to go on vacation with his Wally's Wonder World amusement park, and they're on the road, and then all of a sudden, okay, so the beginning is just introducing, they're getting ready to go on their adventure, and here we are, their vacation, and we're in the middle part. So all of a sudden they heard a clank, and let's see what happened. "I have bad news, kiddos. It looks like something is wrong with the battery. We are going to have to call a tow truck. I'm not sure if we will make it to the hotel today," he said. "My brother, sister, and I moaned and whined. This couldn't be." Okay, so before we go on in the story, I think we need to talk about it. So we've kind of talked a lot about the beginning, right? That just kind of sets up what's happening in the story, who the characters are, what they're doing, right? So they've been getting ready, this family's been getting ready for this trip, and they're packed and they're ready and they've hit the road, right? So that's the beginning. And then in the middle, they hit a problem. And their problem is that their car battery is broken now, right? Because they heard a clink, a huge clink, and the car started to sound funny. And then the dad went on the side of the road and he looked, and he says the battery doesn't look good and that they might not make it to the hotel that night. Bummer. Let's keep reading. So we're in the middle of the story now, right? We're at the top of our roller coaster. Let's see what else happens. Okay. So my dad called the tow truck. The tow truck brought us to the nearest mechanic. After the mechanic looked at the car, he delivered more bad news. So it sounds like we're still in the middle, because in the middle, there's usually always a problem. "If it is the battery, I'm sorry, but I have ordered a new one. It is a holiday weekend, so it could take a few days." "Oh, great," my sister whined. "Our vacation is ruined. Now we are stuck in this boring town with nothing to do." Okay, so let's pause. So we have this problem. The battery broke, and there's more to this problem, right? That what they couldn't get this battery in time because it was the holiday, and now they're stuck in a town that they didn't even want to be in. So let's see what else happens. The mechanic called a cab to take us to the nearest hotel. When we arrived, my heart sank even more. This certainly was not like the hotel we were going to stay at near Wally's Wonder World. It was run down and didn't even have a pool. Everyone in my family was irritable. Irritable means like upset, like they were not happy at all. We had run into the worst luck. The lady at the front desk of the hotel spoke carefully to us. "This is a great town," she exclaimed. "Here is a map of all the things to do." We slumped up the chairs to our rundown room. We are just going to have to make the best of this town while our car is being fixed," Dad explained. He opened the map. "Look, there's a shopping center and arcade. We will head over there for lunch." Okay. My family took a bus to the shopping center. We found a Western-themed restaurant and sat down to eat. The restaurant was fun. They gave us peanuts as snacks, and we could even throw the shells on the ground. They had line dancing. Everyone joined in on the fun while we waited for our food. So now that I'm reading this, I'm kind of thinking, okay, well, I noticed that it went from really bad to like a problem, from a problem to maybe there's like something good going to happen. Like it sounds pretty pretty hopeful, right? They went to the restaurant that was fun. Well, if something's fun, it's happy. So like there's something changing in the story right now, and you have to be mindful of that. After we ate, my mom suggested we play games at the arcade. I beat my sister in a car racing game. This isn't so bad after all, I said to my dad. I'm noticing that they're getting happy and there's a difference in how they feel. It's important to make the best of what we have, Dad said. What is important is that we are together. My family had a wonderful afternoon together. That evening, we got a surprise call from the mechanic. He was going to get the car battery in the morning and it would be fixed by lunchtime. We hadn't planned on the excursion to this small town, but it ended up being a great time with my family. Now, when things don't go as planned, I try to make the best out of the situation. Awesome. The end. So a lot to think about here. And let's kind of just talk about them real quick, especially the bottom half. So the characters, we already kind of talked about those and what we think it is, and that is the boy or the narrator, right? And the family, right? Those are the main characters. Those are the people that we see throughout the whole story. The setting is in this not old town. I don't think they called it an old town, but they called it a small town. We'll call it a small town, right? So they were in a car, but the main setting here for most of the story was in this small town. Now, what was the problem, right? We read about this car and they were in it and they were on their way. And what happened? What was caused something that would take them off their original plan? Well, when we're reading through, if you remember, the car broke down. That's the problem. Okay. Ooh, no, not done. Down. Right? We don't need to go into the details about the problem, right? But that the car broke down and they were stuck. Oh, and that's a good one. And stuck in the town, right? That's a problem because that wasn't what they originally wanted to do. They were trying to go to this Wally's Wonder World amusement park, but they got stuck. Car broke down and stuck in a town. Those are the biggest problems in this story. So what's the solution, right? Well, they end up going to a hotel. And what happened? Well, they decided to explore the town. And by exploring the town, right, the solution of how to make this better, right, of being stuck in a town because of a broken car, they were able to find an awesome restaurant where they had fun and they ate the peanuts and they were enjoying it, and the family was like, well, this isn't so bad. And then the solution really wasn't the good news, right? It was that they decided to explore the town. Okay, so in the beginning, so if we were supposed to write this in 3 parts, the first part is the beginning. So if remembering, the beginning includes the characters and setting of the story, we say, in the beginning, a boy and his family got were driving to Wally's Wonderland Amusement Park. We'll just use those letters, right? Because that's pretty like pretty accurate about what happened on our roller coaster, right? We were learning about this family and they're going on a drive to this place, right? And in the middle, remember the middle includes our problem. In the middle, their car broke down and they got stuck in a town, right? So in the middle, we have our problem. We don't have to go into details, like we didn't have to say, well, the mechanic couldn't find a battery and they didn't know what to do, so they decided to stay in a hotel, right? We just have to be very, very like main idea about the middle, and that was their car broke down and they got stuck in a town. And then what happened at the end? In the end, what did they do? That's our solution. They explored the town and actually liked it, right? So we don't have to say, well, then they were able to get a car battery and they were going to go to the amusement park. That's really not the big solution to the problem. It was that they actually liked the town that they were exploring. So go ahead and watch this again if you need it. I know it's pretty long. I'm so sorry. There's just a lot to talk about when it comes to plot. But go ahead and finish the activity that goes with this. Topic. And if you have any questions, watch the video again. If you have any really important questions, ask Miss Hilario. But we will be also working on plot a lot during our small groups on Wednesday for reading, okay? So don't get too scared about all this. Just really remember like problem, solution, and the big ideas of these 3 things, okay? So we'll keep working on it, but try your super duper best today and we'll go from there. All right, talk to you later.